I got fired from my own marriage in a letter on official letterhead, and it had my wife's signature at the bottom. I'm not being dramatic. I mean that literally. I came home and there was this envelope on the doormat like it was a tax notice or something. Thick paper, fancy header. I open it up and it reads like a security memo. It basically says, starting today, my access to the house, shared accounts, and family resources is being restricted. And then it's this weird checklist. Family Spotify, disabled. Shared calendar, disabled. Netflix, gone. Even the smart lock. At the bottom, there's a signature, Maya, my wife. And honestly, I didn't even get angry right away. I just stood there holding this thing thinking, what am I reading? So I walk up to the door, tap my key, the lock beeps red. No entry. I'm locked out of my own house. And the last line of the letter is what really got me. It says something like, if you think this is a mistake, hire a lawyer. If you know it isn't, don't pretend you're surprised. I remember just sitting in my car because I couldn't even process it on the porch like a complete idiot. First thing I do is call Maya, straight to voicemail. I text her, and the message doesn't even deliver. Like I've been blocked, not just on my phone, but in real life. I go to my neighbor and ask to borrow her phone. I'm thinking, maybe she just doesn't want to see my number. Maya answers almost immediately, and she doesn't yell. She doesn't cry. None of that. She just says, calm as anything, don't come here. Don't call. You already did what you did. I'm like, what did I do? And she goes cold. This isn't a discussion. If you show up, it will be documented. This is protocol. Protocol. That word messed with my head. Like we're not married, we're a workplace incident. I try to ask what's happening, and she says one more thing before hanging up. Charlie should have told you. Charlie is my best friend, like since high school. And for the last few months, he's basically been at our place nonstop because he was going through a divorce, feeling depressed, couldn't be alone. You know how it goes. I even gave him a key so he could come by if we were out, feed the cat, grab mail, whatever. And now my wife is telling me, Charlie should have told you. Then she hangs up. So I'm sitting in my car, staring at our dark windows, and obviously my brain goes to the most basic explanation on earth. Wife, best friend, cheating. While I'm out of town. Because yeah, I travel for work sometimes. Except, the next thing I find makes the whole story veer sideways. I'm digging through my email because I don't even know what else to do, and I see this automated message from a security service. Your request for access to the surveillance archive has been processed. And I'm like, what request? What archive? I click it and it pulls up logs for our home system, door access, camera timestamps, and it's all late night entries. 2:13 a.m., door unlocked. 2:17 a.m., door locked. 3:41 a.m., unlocked. 3:44 a.m., locked, over and over. And the device name in the log literally says, Charlie's iPhone. At first I'm like, okay, so Charlie came by. But why the hell is he doing quick pop-ins at 2 in the morning? And why so many? My stomach drops because my brain wants to connect the dots in the obvious way. But then I notice something that completely changes the shape of it. I look for my travel confirmations, flights, hotels, all that, and I realize a bunch of them were sent, not to my work email, but to an old Gmail account I barely use. I try to log into it. Password doesn't work. I hit forgot password, and it shows where the recovery code will go, and it's a phone number I don't recognize. So now I'm not thinking cheating. I'm thinking someone is inside my accounts. And then the thought hits me that honestly scared me. What if those work trips weren't real? Here's the weird part. I remembered them. Airports, hotel lobbies, even this one bar I swear I sat at. But when I look for proof, photos, receipts, location history, I've got nothing. Like the memories exist, but the world has no record of me being there. I drive straight to Charlie's place. He answers the door and he looks like someone who either hasn't slept in days or someone who knew this moment was coming. Before I can even start, he goes, "I didn't do anything. I was trying to tell you." I'm like, "Tell me what?" And he says, "Maya asked me to keep an eye on the house." I actually thought I misheard him. "Keep an eye on the house." From who? And he says quietly, "From you." I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so insane my brain couldn't handle it. I'm like, "Do you hear yourself?" And then he drops this line that makes my skin go cold. "Sometimes you came home at night and then you didn't remember it." I'm like, "What do you mean I came home?" He pulls out his phone and opens a clip from our living room camera. And on the video, it's me. Same jacket, same walk, same body language. Timestamp, 2:13 a.m. And I'm moving like I'm trying not to wake anyone up. I don't turn on lights. I don't call for Maya. I walk straight into my office. A few minutes later, I come back out and leave. And right before I go, I put an envelope on the table. The same kind of envelope. I just stared at it, because what do you even say to that? My first thought was fake. My second thought was, I'm losing it. We go back to the house. This is the first time all night the lights are on. I walk up to the door and I don't even touch the handle. I just say, "Maya, please come out." She opens the door on the chain, and the way she looks at me, it's not anger, it's exhaustion, like she's been scared for a while. And she says, "Which one are you tonight?" I'm like, "What? What does that mean?" She says, "The one who acts like he doesn't remember, or the one who shows up with papers and makes me sign them?" I couldn't even answer. I genuinely didn't know what she was talking about. She hands me a folder. Inside are documents in my name, applications, insurance stuff, credit lines, and a lease for an apartment across town. And every single page has my signature. I'm staring at it thinking, I didn't sign any of this. I ask her, "Who's doing this?" And she looks me dead in the eyes and says, "You are." Then she plays me an audio recording. It's my voice, but it doesn't sound like me. It's flat, cold. It's saying, "You're going to sign this because otherwise we both lose everything. It's just paper. You love me, right?" I swear I felt sick hearing it. And at this point, I'm still thinking the classic thing, that Maya and Charlie are together and they're gaslighting me, because that's how these stories usually go. Except Maya turns to Charlie and says, "I checked everything, and there's one person who's always around when this happens." Charlie starts shaking his head like, "No, no, no." But Maya doesn't even raise her voice. She just says, "You always knew ahead of time. You always happened to be nearby. And you're the only person who had access to his old Gmail." I look at Charlie and he can't hold eye contact. I ask him, "Why can't I get into that Gmail?" Silence. "Why are you in the door logs?" He swallows and says the worst possible thing, "Because you asked me to." And Maya just gives this short, bitter laugh like she's heard it 100 times. "Of course. You always say that. Eventually, Charlie sits down and tells us what's really been going on. 2 years ago, I was in this minor car accident, hit my head, a couple stitches, nothing dramatic. I barely thought about it after. But after that, I started having these little memory gaps. Nothing huge. I just figured it was stress, burnout, whatever. And Charlie, being the helpful friend, started pushing all this stuff on me. Sleep tracking, apps, an improve your focus program, a smart band. Dude, you just need routine. It sounded harmless, except he slowly made himself the person in control of everything I wasn't paying attention to. My sleep schedule, my accounts, my old email, my calendar. And when I had those gaps, he didn't help me fix them. He used them. He fed me travel confirmations. He rerouted access. He planted evidence so I'd believe I had this second life. Meanwhile, he was opening credit lines in my name, signing leases in my name, running money through an apartment he rented under my identity. Because on paper, I'm perfect cover, stable job, marriage, decent credit, normal life. And those late night visits to the house, they weren't about cheating. They were about paperwork, about showing up and pressuring Maya to sign things so his scheme looked legit. So you'd think the ending is, we call the cops, Charlie gets arrested, done. But it didn't play out like a movie. Maya tells me, that's why I wrote the letter. That's why I cut your access. That's why I locked you out. I'm like, why would you do that to me? And she explains it really simply. If I went to the police with my husband has memory gaps and his best friend is stealing his identity, they'd look at me like I'm making it up. And Charlie would be calm and reasonable. And you'd look unstable. Then she says, I needed you to stop doubting yourself and fight back. And then she goes, and yeah, I cheated. I froze. And she immediately goes, not like that, not physically. She means she went behind my back to a lawyer, quietly, without telling me. She collected documents, timestamps, recordings. She built a case, and she set it up so Charlie would think he'd won, so he'd relax and talk. Then she pulls out her phone, taps one button, and puts it on speaker. And a voice says, we're recording, keep going. It wasn't a cop. It was her attorney and an investigator working the fraud angle. Charlie tries to stand up to leave, and the door's already locked. Not the smart lock, just a regular lock. He didn't get taken away in handcuffs that night. It was messier. Paperwork, investigations, forensics, a lot of waiting. But eventually it all caught up with him on the financial side. We got some of the money back, not all. And honestly, the worst part wasn't even the money. The worst part is I still don't know how many times I went missing, how many nights I did things I don't remember. Now I have this habit that sounds stupid until you've been through something like that. I wake up and I check my phone, my calendar, my messages, just to make sure the day makes sense. Because after that, you stop trusting your own memory the way you used to.